What if I told you that women don't glance at you by accident? That those quick, stolen looks are part of a deeper psychological evaluation process most men never notice. You've seen it before. The subtle check, the delayed look away, the quiet curiosity she tries to disguise. It's not about beauty or popularity. It's about something rarer, a signal she can't easily categorize, a presence she can't immediately decode. And when a woman can't decode a man, she watches him. You're about to learn why. Because in a world where most men broadcast their intentions and emotions like open books, the man who stays calm, unhurried, and unreadable becomes a question that demands answering. Her glances aren't admiration, not yet. They're reconnaissance, their instinct trying to make sense of composure. If you're new here, make sure you stay close. We talk about the things most men were never taught, the psychology, the power, the emotional control women actually notice. Feel free to subscribe, like the video, or leave a comment so this message reaches more men who are trying to make sense of themselves in a culture that benefits from their confusion. Because there's a reason she keeps looking, and it's not what the magazines tell you. Stay until the end. The full principle reveals itself there. You don't draw eyes with volume, you draw them with restraint. You exist in a room without announcing yourself, without chasing attention, without performing for validation, and that quiet presence shifts the atmosphere in subtle ways most men never feel. Women feel it first, not as attraction, but as disruption. They're accustomed to men leaking their emotions through rapid speech, restless limbs, forced smiles, and impatient gestures. But you don't leak, you contain. Composure in a man is a rare sight, the kind of rare sight instinct studies before it decides what it means. She notices the way you wait, how you handle delays, how you manage boredom without reaching for constant stimulation. Modern life conditions men to distract themselves every second they're not being entertained, but you can sit with stillness. Stillness becomes signal, signal becomes contrast. Contrast draws attention. You don't need to be handsome for that. You only need to be unbothered. You move through space without rushing, without fidgeting, without competing for visibility. There's a quiet hierarchy in how you stand, how you turn, how you breathe. Women are extraordinarily attuned to micro-behaviors, not as strategy, but as survival. They can read the difference between anxiety and intention, between neediness and calm, between confidence and noise. Your restraint forces her brain to classify you, and classification takes time. Time requires repeated observation. Repeated observation becomes glances. And it's not just how you move, it's how little you reveal. Most men broadcast their internal states like open windows. Nervous men show nervousness. Eager men show eagerness. Approval-seeking men show desperation disguised as friendliness. You don't broadcast, you withhold. Withholding in a man generates ambiguity, and ambiguity is psychologically magnetic. The mind hates unanswered questions, and you are a question wrapped in composure. Even your eye contact disrupts the normal script. You don't chase it, you don't avoid it. You allow it to happen, unforced, then you withdraw without urgency. That slight lack of pursuit tells a story about a man who is not afraid of connection, but is equally unafraid of silence. That balance is rare in a world that teaches men to either chase or retreat. You do neither, and that absence of predictable behavior compels further observation. She checks again to see if the signal holds. Anyone can mimic composure for a moment, but fewer sustain it through inconvenience, interruption, or chaos. So she watches how you react to a spilled drink, a rude stranger, a long line, an unreturned look, a closed door. She watches how you navigate disrespect, whether you explode, shrink, or simply absorb the disruption without letting it dethrone your equilibrium. Emotional steadiness in a man is not glamorous, but it is powerful. Power always attracts glances, especially silent power, the kind that doesn't need to prove itself. And beneath all of this, something deeper is happening, a quiet assessment of hierarchy. Not romantic hierarchy, not sexual hierarchy, but social and psychological hierarchy. Women need to understand where a man sits among other men before they decide how to interpret him. When your behavior lacks neediness, when your posture lacks apology, when your presence lacks performance, she begins the ranking process. Not through words, through instinct. The first glance is accidental, the second is strategic, the third is confirmation. And yet the story hasn't fully begun, because the most important reason she keeps glancing isn't about her at all. It's about what you represent in a culture addicted to immediacy, validation, and noise. Stay exactly where you are, because the deeper layer unfolds in the next movement. Because when you refuse to compete for attention, you create scarcity, and scarcity is the foundation of perceived value. A man who doesn't need validation is rare, and what is rare becomes observed, studied, and privately questioned. Not because she admires you yet, but because she cannot easily predict you. And women pay attention to what they cannot predict. She watches how you speak, or more importantly, how little you feel compelled to speak. Your words are measured, not frugal. You don't over-explain, you don't justify, you don't narrate your own behavior to make others comfortable. You let silence do the work. Silence in a man is unsettling to the world, because silence is the sound of someone who isn't auditioning. Women sense that immediately, and it forces them to reevaluate the social equation unfolding in front of them. Most men counter silence with noise, with jokes, with stories, with nervous commentary, with attempts to soften the tension. But you allow tension to exist without needing to resolve it. Tension is information. Information is leverage. Leverage is hierarchy, and hierarchy demands attention. She glances again, not to admire you, but to assess whether your restraint is strength or fear. It's a crucial distinction. A timid man hides behind silence, but a dominant man wields it. You give off the second impression, even if you're not consciously trying to. Women are trained, consciously or not, to make that distinction. Their survival depends on knowing which men are unpredictable, which are chaotic, which are harmless, and which are in control. You register as the last category, calm, composed, internally governed. That's when the glances begin to shift from scanning to studying. And there is another layer, one you may not notice because it operates beneath the surface. Women are experts at reading the social environment. They don't just look at you, they watch how others react to you. If other men defer to you, give you space, or unconsciously adjust their behavior in your presence, she sees it instantly. Social proof in men rarely takes the form men think it does. It's not applause or validation, it's subtle realignments of posture, tone, and attention. You create a gravitational center without asking for it. Even your clothing, if intentional but understated, sends a signal. Not fashion, but coherence. When a man's appearance communicates self-respect without vanity, it suggests standards. Standards suggest boundaries. Boundaries suggest self-control. Women are not attracted to the clothes. They are attracted to the psychological profile inferred through them. A man with standards is a man who won't betray himself just to be liked. That profile earns respect long before it earns desire. But the real curiosity emerges the moment she realizes you are not seeking her attention. Modern men chase eyes and approval with such desperation that when a man simply exists without pursuit, the dynamic reverses. He becomes the evaluator, she becomes the observed. In that inversion, glances multiply. Not in pursuit of validation, but in pursuit of understanding. Because the question becomes, if you are not performing for attention, where does your value come from? Value that doesn't demand recognition is value that has already been recognized internally. And internal value is rare enough to be mistaken for arrogance, even when it isn't. But women don't confuse the two for long. Arrogance inflates externally. Confidence sits quietly beneath the skin. She notices how you occupy your mind. You don't drown yourself in distraction. You allow your thoughts to breathe. You can wait in line without pulling out your phone. You can drink a coffee without scanning for attention. You can sit at a table without needing an audience. A man who can tolerate his own company without sedation signals something important. He is not escaping himself. And humans are drawn to those who are not running. And perhaps the most unsettling detail for her, unsettling in the best possible way, is that she cannot tell if you have options. Men who lack options advertise availability. Men with options don't need to. You give nothing away. No chasing glance. No flinching admiration. No approval-seeking micro-gesture. You let the world reveal itself before you decide what it means. That reversal makes women evaluate instead of being evaluated. Over time, the glances shift yet again. What began as recognition becomes analysis. What began as analysis becomes projection. She starts imagining what kind of life a man like you leads, what kind of discipline you maintain, what kind of hierarchy you operate in, what kind of standards you enforce. Attraction does not begin with desire, it begins with imagination. And imagination requires a blank canvas. The more you reveal, the less room she has to paint. You give her very little, so she paints constantly. None of this is about manipulation or strategy. It's about something simpler. The power of a man who doesn't chase the world, but orbits his own center. Glances are merely the first signals of recognition. And yet, for all this, for all the subconscious evaluations and unspoken analysis, the most profound reason she keeps looking hasn't been addressed yet. Because the deepest fascination women have with men like you is not about dominance, or confidence or control. It's about uncertainty. And uncertainty, when combined with composure, becomes irresistible to the human mind. Stay exactly where you are, because that final layer, the one that closes the psychological loop, unfolds next. Because uncertainty in a man who remains composed is a paradox, and paradoxes demand resolution. She cannot tell what you want, what you fear, what you prioritize, or who you seek. That opacity creates an open cognitive loop in her mind. And the human mind is built to close loops, especially those that concern social evaluation, hierarchy, or potential risk. But here you are, offering no quick conclusion, no clear motive, no anxious clarifications. You allow the loop to remain open. That alone commands attention. Even the way you withdraw is a signal. You don't linger to extract validation or to feed on the reaction. You move on without resentment, without triumph, without commentary. That neutrality unsettles her expectations. Most men either chase or retreat. You simply continue, as if the moment neither added nor subtracted from your sense of self. Self-containment is power, and power is observed before it is desired. Time passes. She watches how you treat others. Respect in your world is not currency to be thrown around as a bid for favor. It is given where it belongs and withheld when it is unearned. That boundary makes her study you further. Not because she hopes to unlock your approval, but because boundaries signal identity. A man without boundaries dissolves into the expectations of others. A man with boundaries becomes distinct, and distinction commands interest. If attraction enters the picture, it enters late. Women don't begin with desire, they begin with classification. Only after she has decided what kind of man you are, does the emotional dimension open. And if that dimension opens, it opens because she feels something rare, the possibility of respect. Respect, more than romance, is the foundation of female interest. Women admire what they cannot easily influence, predict, or rearrange. You are not shaped by their expectations. You are shaped by your own standards. And that is why, at a certain point, the glances stop being covert. They are no longer reconnaissance, they are verification. She is verifying whether the story she has built about you holds under different lighting, different environments, different moods. She is checking for consistency, because consistency in a man is one of the clearest signs of internal order. The world is full of fragmented men, men who collapse under pressure, who betray themselves at the smallest promise of approval. who lose their identity when confronted with rejection or inconvenience. You don't collapse. You don't betray. You don't contort yourself to be chosen. You choose yourself first, and that, more than good looks or charm or charisma, is what compels a woman to watch you when she thinks you're not watching her. Because what she's really studying is the architecture of your inner world. She's trying to answer questions no one speaks aloud. What kind of man survives difficulty? What kind of man commands respect without demand? What kind of man refuses to negotiate with his own dignity? These are not superficial curiosities. They are instinctive evaluations, coded into female psychology through centuries of adaptation and social calibration. And then there is the final layer, the layer men rarely understand. She doesn't glance because she wants to possess you. She glances because she wants to understand you. Possession comes later, if at all. Understanding comes first. And understanding requires observation, imagination, and time. The men she can explain, she ignores. The men she cannot explain, she watches. The men she cannot influence, she remembers. So the next time you feel eyes on you, know that it's not about looks or charm or performance. It's about composure. It's about boundaries. It's about self-respect. It's about the way you move through the world without demanding applause for doing so. It's about the silent hierarchy that forms whenever a man refuses to trade his dignity for comfort or attention. And here's the part most men never realize. She isn't just observing you. She is observing how you observe yourself. Because that is the only relationship a woman can truly measure in a man. If he is at war with himself, she sees it. If he is at peace with himself, she sees that too. You have chosen peace, not the soft peace of avoidance, but the hard peace of self-governance. In the beginning of this story, she glanced because she couldn't decode you. Then she glanced because she wanted to classify you. Then she glanced because she imagined you. But in the end, she glances because she respects you. And respect is the birthplace of every deeper feeling a woman ever develops for a man. And so the loop closes, the same loop opened in the hook. She didn't glance by accident. She glanced because your presence disrupted the predictable rhythm of the world. And in a culture drowning in noise and performance, a man who stands still becomes the only signal worth looking at twice.